How's it going, everybody? This is Joseph Torres, and I thought I'd have a little discussion or opinion type video today. So, at this point, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen Society, aka Joker. I saw it Thursday night with my friends, and I definitely it's a good movie. It is a really good movie, but I remember when I first watched it, I remember me definitely liking the movie, but it's so much to take in, especially on initial viewing. Because while I definitely felt like I liked the movie from a technical aspect, from an acting aspect, and from a visual aspect, it's such a movie that's so much to take in that I definitely needed to watch it a few more times before I could really think about what I wanted to really say about this film. And I've had that opportunity to watch it many times because I work in a movie theater and I'm an usher over there, and they gave me special assignments to do extra theater checks for Joker because they were worried about trouble. Let's just say it that way. And yesterday I did another theater check for Joker because it was a slow day. I was pretty bored, and so I just, all right, I'm just gonna watch Joker because it's the only movie that we're playing right now that I have any interest. That I'll just sit there and just watch it. I'll watch it more than friggin' Gemini Man or Addams Family. I don't really care for those movies, but something about this viewing in particular felt different to me. And in the days since the movie's come out, there's been all these opinion videos and discussion videos about the movie's themes and what it's trying to say about our world and our society and all that mumbo jumbo. But I feel like a lot of people are kind of missing the point about this movie because I'll be honest, even though it feels like a political film, Joker himself doesn't feel like, or he doesn't really feel like his motives are political. They feel very self-centered. Because even during the, oh, by the way, spoilers, even during the climax of the film where he's on the Murray Franklin show and Murray questions him about the killings and all that stuff and the riots, and Joker himself just says, oh, do I look like the kind of clown that is trying to start a revolution or whatever? And it got me thinking that, even though many people have tried to compare this to real world political stuff, it's like, oh, it's like Occupy Wall Street or it's like Antifa. This Joker in this movie didn't feel like he wanted to start anything political. He just felt like a guy who felt wronged by certain individuals and just wanted to get back at the people who he felt like had wronged him. And that's very in line with the character. I know Todd Phillips, the movie's director, has said many times about how, they didn't take anything from the comics and all that stuff. But as far as the character, they really nailed the character down. And in that moment, that's where I feel like that's where they nailed the character. Because Joker is a person, or an entity rather, that really doesn't give a shit about anyone but himself, really. He doesn't, and even in this movie, he doesn't really seem to care all that much about the riots or all that stuff. But he seems to appreciate more the fact that people are noticing him. It's this me thing with this version of the Joker that's very true to the character himself. And it really made me think about people's reactions to this film and why it's so controversial. And now the whole shooting hysteria has kind of died down a little bit. It kind of made me think that I think a big reason why people were so, or I think rather the real reason why people are so just hostile towards this movie, as now that almost everyone in the world has seen it, I think the reason why we're so hostile to it because it shows it kind of like points the mirror at us and says we are the cause of people like the Joker. It's not a vat of chemicals or, you know, Batman. We as a society create people like the Joker. It takes a character like the Joker and adds a real world context to his creation. And I've even seen people who are like big comic book fans on Twitter kind of have a problem with this, because their understanding is that, oh, Joker is just an evil guy who does things because he's evil. They don't really seem to like the idea of adding real world context like mental illness to the Joker's origin. And I understand people who even liked and disliked the movie, you know, their opinions on the way this movie depicted mental illness and its correlation with the violence is a little mixed. But I think that's what's so great about this movie, is that it's really starting a conversation. It started all kinds of conversations. It really kind of has gotten people's thoughts and opinions going, not just on Joker as a character, but how we view society. And for me, if this movie does have any kind of real message, because for me, I don't think it has a concrete message, or at least it's not trying to, but even if it does, I feel like it's trying to say, hey, our world, like our society, is a little messed up, and kind of maybe we should try treating people the way they want to be treated. Like that old saying that your parents used to tell you when you were kids, you know, treat people the way you want to be treated, because you don't know what's going on with that person. For all we know, as in the case of Arthur Fleck, they may be mentally ill, the world just seems to be beating them and beating them down, and one day they might just snap. And that's not to say, you know, are there people like Arthur Fleck out in the world? Yes, you know, they're mentally ill, they're not getting the right help or medication they need, they have dead-end jobs, they have other problems like having to take care of their parents or whatever. But in a lot of ways too, this movie, as realistic as this movie tries to be, it's still got those elements of fantasy. Like in the end, like I assure you, most of these people like Arthur Fleck who exist in the real world, they're not going to go on a late night talk show, shoot the host in the head, and then people are just going to start rioting in the street and treat that person like a martyr. You know, as much as people were concerned that this movie was maybe a little too realistic for their tastes, there were still elements of fantasy. But I think I feel like this movie it has a lot to say, and at the same time it doesn't. And I think what it's trying to say the most, like, it's trying to point the mirror at us and saying, hey, you want to talk about mass shootings and incels and all this stuff, but we create people like Joker. And I think that's what this movie is trying to say about us. So in other words, let's just try to be like nice to everybody. Let's try to be a little more compassionate instead of just being assholes to everybody. Let's try some compassion. And maybe, just maybe, less people run around dressed like clowns being mad at society. I don't know. That was just kind of like my general thoughts. You can go into the comments section and let's try to have a conversation in the comments and have a conversation about this movie, about its themes and its messages. If you think there's themes, or if there's no themes, talk about it. Let's try to have a civil discussion, or don't. I don't really care. I'm Reanimate Existence, aka Joseph Torres, or I'm Joseph Torres, aka Reanimate Existence, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.